Be a giant object. So I'm not going to cover each and every property. However, I would want to showcase a property that gets us the URL. And what would be the URL? Well, that would be an address. And if you worked with React or DOM, you know that, for example, for the homepage, we used /. And then if the client wants to go to, for example, about page, he or she would enter / and then the about. Now, in our case, notice how we're still serving the same content. So just to give you a quick introduction of the request object, as well as set up a bit more realistic application, we're going to go with the request. Now, again, if you want, you can log it. So we're going to go here with request, and you'll see that it is a giant object. Now, since we made some changes, we do need to stop it. And then we'll go with node.app.js. But notice how we're not right away console logging the request object. Why? Well, because server is waiting for those requests. So we need to go back to our browser and then refresh. And then, of course, once we navigate back, like I said, this is going to be a giant object with bunch of useful info. Now, what we're looking for is the URL property, because that URL property is going to tell us, well, what address client is requesting. So what endpoint the client is requesting. And like I said, for the homepage, the common practice is using simple /. So in here, we can set up the if statement where I say if request URL is equal to the homepage, then of course, this is what I would like to send back. And just to speed this up, I can tell you that we can cheat a little bit where we can just place everything in the end. And in my case, I'll just cut out my string. So we have res.end. So now we simply send the text. And now, of course, I also would want to check for the about or contact or whatever. So in here, let's go with if and then request and URL. And if that one is equal to about, then of course I can send different text. And as far as the text, I'm just going to say here is our short history. And then lastly, well, what happens if the user is trying to access a resource that doesn't exist on our server? So we'll have the about page, we'll have the home page. What about if the user is asking for a contact page that we don't have? Well, here we'll simply set up a default response. We'll say res.end, and just to make it interesting, I'll set up the template string, and I'll show you that if we really want to, we can also pass in directly HTML, and I'll say, oops, an exclamation point. I'll close my HTML. Again, please understand, this is just a basic scenario. Of course, that's not how we'll be setting up our APIs or nothing like that. But just to give you a quick intro, we'll do it quick and dirty, where there's going to be a paragraph, and we'll say we can't seem to find the page that you're looking for. Page you are looking for. And at the very end, I would want to set up a link that allows the user to navigate back. So I'll go with href and I'll say /, which just means homepage. And we're going to go back home. Let's close our link. Let's save that one. So at the moment, and we'll stop the server here. Again, let's run node.app.js. And now we should have, here's our short history. That's our about page. Then we have the home page. And of course, you're already familiar with our error page. So if I'll go with error or any kind of resource that doesn't exist, then of course we'll get the error page. And of course, we can bravely navigate back home and we go back to our homepage. That should do it for the quick intro of base modules. And now, of course, we are ready to move on